Two big stories to break down today. We discuss the latest reports around Romelu Lukaku. And to move on, we discuss the big reports coming out from France suggesting that we are ready now to place a bid to sign Rayan Cherki. So I hope you guys are excited by these developments, by these stories. We're selling a lot of players, but I think right now we're all waiting now to start adding players to the team and getting these new signings in time, hopefully, to take part in preseason games. So I hope you guys are happy to see me again. Thank you to everyone for hitting that like button. It really lets me know that you guys are enjoying the series and hopefully, bigger stories to report as time goes on. So my friends, without wasting any more time. So right now, let's start with things and let's discuss these latest reports surrounding Romelu Lukaku. Now, as we know from Matt Law and The Athletic, plus tons of publications today, Lukaku isn't too keen on returning back for preseason. Now, as we know, he should be returning back tomorrow on Wednesday, but of course his head is only firmly with Inter Milan. Now, the club don't want to really create any concerns or issues because, as they know, they want to sell this guy. Lukaku's made things very known that he doesn't want to be here. He only wants to sign for Inter Milan. And in a sense, this gives us some leverage now because there's now pressure on Inter Milan now to get a deal over the line. So currently, Lukaku has been given a new extension of the 17th of this month, of course, to come back for preseason. And I'd imagine that you'd have to return back because you don't want to ruin your preseason. You want to make sure you're fit and ready next season for Inter Milan. And with this policy we've introduced, we've offered the same thing now to Aubameyang, who is still waiting, of course, to decide his future. So the ball is now firmly in the court of Inter Milan. Juventus have been rejected by Lukaku. You don't want to sign for them. Al Hilal are the only club that were prepared to make a 40 million move, and have offered Lukaku 70 million pounds over 3 seasons, which is a crazy offer. And it does seem like Lukaku would be slightly interested in signing for them if, of course, a move to Inter Milan doesn't actually finalize. So what Inter Milan doing right now? As we know, we rejected their 30 million bids. They made a new offer of 25 million plus 10 million add-ons, which was also rejected. But their new offer of 29 million plus 11 million in add-ons, that should satisfy our demands. And hopefully this entire Lukaku saga comes to an end right now, so we can start focusing now on signing players and bringing additions to the squad right now. You'd imagine that Pochettino ideally would like to have a few signings under his belt right now to, of course, get used to his methods, to unite with the team, etc., etc. And hopefully we don't let this guy down, because I feel like a lot of times we don't always help managers out in this sense because there's always a detail that works against them. So I'm hoping we aren't making the same mistakes again. Still though, once Lukaku finally gets sold, Pulisic now is close to completing his medical with AC Milan, plus fees for Aubameyang and Hakim Ziyech. I think that brings the total combined, sale fee to around 250 million for the summer, right? Maybe I'm doing the math wrong, but I guess we've sold so many players that I'm starting to, lose track now. So right now, my focus is solely on who we are bringing in now to replace these guys. Obviously, Lukaku. You guys know my thoughts and opinions on Lukaku. I don't personally have anything against him. I can kind of sympathize a little bit based on the fact that, he came back to the club for his 3rd or 4th time and things still didn't work out. Promises made to Lukaku under the previous management weren't actually fulfilled in the end. And listen, if a player's heads and heart isn't in it anymore, you have to sell him, you have to move him on. And I think that's what we're doing right now. So yeah. Hopefully now, no more Lukaku stories because we can start focusing on bigger and better things. And I guess this segues in very nicely now to the next report I'm about to discuss. And we discuss Rayan Cherki. Now, this report comes from ESPN by journalist Julio Neron. And he reports that we are set to make an opening offer to sign Lyon's wonder kids in Rayan Cherki. Now, the main reason for this is that now that we've sold Christian Pulisic, we need to sign replacements now. Currently, Cherki's contract expires in 2025. There was a clause activated last season that extended that contract by a further year, which means that he earns higher wages. He's earning around 65k per week. But in terms of the valuation that Lyon want, that's looking to be around 35 million pounds or 40 million euros. As we know, Todd Boehly and the club have a very good relationship with Lyon's ownership. They have an American owner there. I'm forgetting his name off by heart. And obviously we've done business already by securing Malo Gusto. So I can't imagine that, we're not going to come back in now to try and secure Cherki. Building a bit of a French gang at the club right now, looking at players like Fofana, Badia, and Nkunku, Gusto, and hopefully Cherki to come as well. I do feel like in terms of like squad dynamics and harmony, it's good to have like a core set of players, right? And I think now that we've sold so many players, who had big influence in the squad over these past few months, we need to make sure that signings that we make also add to the team spirit, because these things are really important, of course, if you want to have a successful team. But my friends, let's continue on with the story. Now, interestingly enough, one of my boys actually sent me a WhatsApp of an article that came out from 2015 around Rayan Cherki. And at the time, when he was 12 years old, he had a draw with our football club. Now, we don't have any details behind, how he performs or what really happened, but all we know from the article that was 8 years old, was that Cherki was seen as one of the best talents in French football. And as he's grown older and older year by year, he was seen as Lyon's greatest ever player they produced in their academy. I think that is just incredible, to be honest with you. And I think that when you see him perform and play, you can definitely understand and see, why there is so much hope around him. Because this guy plays the game like there's no, fear behind him. He's playing the game like he's on the park. I don't know what they do in France where they teach this type of tech. It must be all the street football or something like that, because, these guys, they come on the pitch playing in front of tens of thousands of fans, and they don't feel the pressure of the game. They play to their instincts, and I feel like some of these things are kind of missing in the game today. The game can be too structured, like overly structured at times. It gets to a point where it's like, players on the field, could you not use your brain and your natural gifts, right? So, make something happen instead of just blindly following rules that clearly aren't working in game, right? But that's my personal frustration. But this is why I've always loved players like your Cherkis, the magicians, the technical goods, the guys that can't be coached. You have to basically harness their instincts. You can't really teach them too much because these guys already know what they're doing in that sense. And it's no surprise that you'll get a bit of comparisons alongside Eden Hazard. So, to continue on with giving my thoughts and opinions, now that I've mentioned Hazard, I've got a concern, but it's not like a concern, but it's more like, I guess, an observational detail. My God, am I rambling on right now? But anyway, last season, obviously he played a lot of football, but I would say that his season was equal parts, oh my God, who the hell is this guy? And equal parts, you should be doing a bit better. You should be a bit more influential in game. But to tell the truth though, as his season was ending, and I tend to look at players in terms of how they, end their seasons, how their form is. Similar to Nicholas Jackson, who had an incredible end to the season. I kind of feel like that's the momentum that all the years of training, conditioning, and game time, it's like something finally clicks in for the player, and they're ready to start properly performing to their potential right now. And Rayan Cherki really ended the season very, very strong for Lyon, and I think that really just showed during his Euro under-21 performances for France as well. And I think one thing that really stood out too was just his goal threat and influence. Now, I think Rayan Cherki is someone that can get a lot more goals based on just that composure he has in front of goal. He doesn't panic unnecessarily. I kind of feel like by having the right techniques with his shooting, of course, that's going to make things even better for the player as he's getting older. But the reason why I mentioned this being a slight concern is that I guess in an ideal world, I'd love this guy to remain at Lyon for one more season and have a Hazard season where he's undisputedly the best guy by far. And not even just the best guy for Lyon, but probably one of the best players in Ligue 1. And I only say this because, the bottleneck for clubs of our size is that, we can attract the sexiest young names and all these super wonder kids, etc, etc. But one thing we don't really tend to do well is give them the right game time to actually condition these guys and train them up. Because without the minutes in game time, it doesn't matter what talent you have if it can't be fully harnessed. And my thing is, of course, coming to a club like us for next season, there's big expectations. We're going to have tons of strong rivals fighting for Champions League spots for next season. And, also we have a fan base that's notoriously not patient at all, yeah? And I'm hoping that the plan to sign Cherki is basically this. We're signing a guy that could potentially be a Ballon d'Or winner right now, and there's no competition for him for an incredible fee. He will get good game time alongside your Nkunkus, alongside your Mudriks, your Sterlings, etc, etc. We're going to build this guy up properly, yeah? And the only reason why I say this is because our club has a very interesting relationship with actually developing young players. I mean, we're not that good at actually, signing a wonder kids and having them actually fulfill their potential. Maybe Hazard was like one of the best examples. I can't really think of anyone else really since then, and we've spent hundreds of millions of players under 21 years old. We haven't really lived up to their goods, and it's not because these guys were never good enough to begin with, but I feel like the environment hasn't really catered towards these guys to fulfill their best game. So I've got a lot of hope now for someone like a Mauricio Pochettino to find the best way to use Cherki. Ideally, for me, this is a guy that's ambidextrous. He can play on the left, the right. He can play up front as like a false nine, so he can even play attacking mid too. With certain players we have now, I'd love to see a bit of like positional fluidity, Let's make it hard for the opposition now to understand our next moves. I think over the past 2 years, we've been hella predictable, very predictable offensively. And I kind of feel like with certain players now, like Christoph and Nkunku, players like Rayan Cherki, hopefully that we could be adding, fulfilling like a 3-year dream I've had. But I'm not even lying to you guys. Obviously, I'm a big football nerd. I have football dreams sometimes. I think we all do, right? Of course, comment below what your last football-related dream was. But I just don't know what it was. But I just had this sixth sense, or just this feeling that, Cherki could be someone that could be signed and I'll see play for us one day. And yeah, you guys have seen my tweet from 3 years ago. This is when he wasn't even getting as much attention back then until now. And I just always felt like, I just wouldn't be surprised. And I had this similar feeling for guys like Raheem Sterling. Maybe you guys did too. I just felt like Sterling would always sign for us when he left Man City. And another one was Benoit Badiashile. Like, when I used to do videos talking about left-footed centre-backs we should sign, Badiashile really caught my eye based on what he was doing for Monaco, and I kind of felt like, listen, this guy is sick on the ground with his passing. He's tall, very good in the air, and he's fast too. It's just like, this is like the type of guy we move for, right? And for me, Cherki is a similar type of player, and I just feel like securing this guy, harnessing his talent, playing him the right way, in the right attacking football with like-minded players around him, which we now have. Wow, could things be exciting for next season, my friends? So let's continue to watch the space, but I don't think we've heard the last of us making a move now to sign Rayan Cherki, and I got a ton of things to still say about him, but I want to spread things out over the other videos that will probably come out, right? So my friends, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Thank you for watching. I'm the EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.